Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wake Up Report. One of the members of the Negro Bonehead Association made one of the most boneheaded decisions in his boneheaded career, Tristan Thompson of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Mr. Thompson felt that he was worth far more than the $80 million that they were going to offer him. So much so that if he did not get his $94 million, he threatened to take what they call a qualifying offer, which means that he would take a one-year, $6.8 million deal, but that would make him an unrestricted free agent the following year. My thing is this. Mr. Thompson didn't stay in college long enough to keep a seat warm. He basically pipelined straight through college and went right to the NBA. Okay, nothing wrong with that, I guess, but when you don't have an education, when you know nothing about money, how to handle $1 million contract negotiations, so you turn it over to an agent who makes dumb decisions on your behalf because you're too dumb to make the decisions on your behalf. What do you wind up with? Hoping that the Cavs would fold on that qualifying offer, which they did not. Thompson folded himself, went back to the Cavs, and offered the Cavs a 3-year, $53 million deal. But the Cavs said no to that, reason being that the short-term deal would take away from the Cavs' long-term leverage if they wanted to trade Mr. Thompson. And how much do you want to bet that Mr. Thompson will be traded in the near future? Mr. Thompson's only strategy would be to basically sit out the season. In other words, I am so important to the team that if I sit out, it is going to jeopardize their chances of getting to the playoffs. Yeah, right. Bad move. Because even if he sat out the entire season, it would not matter. He would still remain a restricted free agent next summer. And not only that, I believe that the Cavaliers would not have to pay him if he sat out for that season. So, black athletes have to be about some of the dumbest people that walk God's green earth. You probably don't have a high school education. You blow right through high school, you get yourself a college scholarship, and you stay in college long enough to forego your athletic scholarship so you can hop right to the NBA for big money. And it would seem to me that $80 million is kind of sort of big money. But you hit the organization up for $94 million because you feel you're worth $94 million. Now, last I checked, Cavaliers haven't won a championship. How about you win a championship? And the way it's normally done is when you win a championship and you are instrumental in your team winning a championship, quite possibly you become MVP, then your stock goes up significantly. And once your stock goes up, which means you win a championship, your jersey becomes the hottest selling jersey of the season. Your endorsement deals go up. Your visibility deals go up. All of those things go up. And more than likely, you wind up really making more in your endorsements and other things than the $10 or so million that you were haggling over with the Cavaliers. I should be so lucky that somebody says, look, KTM, we dig the show and we think we'd like to try you out on a larger platform. So whether the show succeeds or not, we're going to pay you $1 million for 1 year to let's see if the show works. And I come back with $1 million. I'm worth more than $1 million. Can't pay my bills off of no $1 million. That would make me like one of the stupidest people on the planet. I would say, well, listen, okay, let's see if the show, let's say the show's red hot for the first 6 months and then it starts to decline. But within that 6 months, I'm going to hump my behind off. I'm going to do anything that I can do to maybe double that money, triple that money. As Ice-T once said in one of his songs, if the 80 million wasn't enough, then you got to double that. And then you got to double that again. However, as Ice Cube said in one of his songs, there'll be a new nigga next year. Because, dude, all you are is a spoke in a wheel. Once your spoke pops, they're going to pull you out, toss you to the side. They're going to pop another spoke in next season during the draft, and that machine is going to keep rolling. You blew the opportunity of a lifetime, especially since you don't have an education. Because, you don't know how to count. You don't know how to read. You don't know how to do whatever, beyond see Dick run, see Jane get ball, shoot ball, and hoop. So I guess it would have been a waste anyway. Statistically, most athletes, some 2 or so years after they retire, they wind up going broke anyway. So I guess, it ain't too hard to predict based on your financial decision making where you're going to be headed after you retire. But let's do some financials. Okay, let's just a little bit of just basic math. But oops. I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson, that basic math may throw you off a little bit, so you might not have any idea of what I'm about to talk about. So let's try it anyway. Now, at $80 million, let's assume his tax bracket is somewhere in the 30% range. His taxes would average out to about maybe $24 million. So after taxes on that $80 million, you would walk away scot-free and clear $56 million. Let's say you got the $94 million. All right. And with the same 30%, that would about $28 million or so in taxes. That would leave you about $65 million. So really what we're haggling over is plus or minus, a little under or a little over $10 million. Common sense would tell anybody, but oops, apparently you don't have common sense. That $9 or $10 million could be made up with the $56 million that you have in your pocket. You could start a business. You could sell T-shirts. You could manufacture your own athletic basketball shoes. And so even if they were crap, you could sell $10 million worth of crappy basketball shoes and you could get that money back. I don't understand this. Not one bit. Well, yeah, I do understand it because, I can think and I can add and I can subtract, So this guy has absolutely torched he's torched his relationship with the Cavaliers. He has torched his marketability because as his offers began to decline, so you wanted 94, they said we're going to give you 80. You say I'm not taking 80. You threatened with 6.8 million. They don't budge. You come back with 53 million. They don't budge. Now you may possibly get traded and your value starts to decline unless, I hear that the NBA has cut a new TV deal, so that can mean some big bucks. Maybe somewhere in those big bucks, some team will be dumb enough to pay you $94 million when you haven't proven anything. You are not a championship player. You haven't won a championship. You haven't proven not one thing. And you think that you are worth all that money. Now, of course, if you know what you're worth, I always say go out and get what you're worth. But, my man, as it counts now, you're probably worth about 6.8 million and falling because nobody is going to give you the money that you were looking for. Don't you think that if you took a percentage of the $56 million that you had, and let's say, I used this example in the last show, let's say you went back to where you lived. You went back to your neighborhood or your area and you opened up a restaurant, you started some type of a business enterprise. You could have employed a ton of black kids from where you're from to give them an opportunity to do something to better themselves. But no, because Negroes don't think like that. Negroes can't possibly understand that if I put back into my community, I may wind up getting back 10-fold, 20-fold. Take some money, start a record label, start a video game company or something like that. You could have done so much to make up for that $10 million. When you think about it, technically, or theoretically, that $10 million difference really doesn't mean anything. You're kind of sort of making the same amount of money, be it the 80 million or the 94 million. After taxes, it averages out to about the same thing. Oh, but I guess we missed that class, didn't we? So what does the average black athlete take in college? Communications. So because you didn't stick around long enough to communicate with anybody, you're going to be ass out pretty much when your career is done. Realistically, unless you are of David Robinson, Tim Duncan stature, because both of those men are educated. They are educated men who happen to be athletes, as opposed to athletes with no education. But unless you are of that stature, you're not paid to think. Okay, you're paid to run up and down a court and entertain people and put a ball in a hoop. Kind of like that bear that rides a bicycle at the circus or something like that. That's about all the thinking you have to know how to do. There's no thinking required other than reading those little X's and O's on the playboard or something like that. But Ben Wallace did the same thing, same boneheaded move. He was playing for the Pistons. Pistons were paying Mr. Wallace, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of about $32 million, something like that. Yes, I know it was 30. Let's just say it's $30 million. Okay, so you got a great gig, you're making great money, the fans love you, your merchandise is flying off the shelves, but you feel you're going to make a decision because you feel that the offense should run through you. So you're going to tell the Pistons, well, you know something? If you don't give me more money, well, I'm going to have to take my act on the road somewhere else. He went to Chicago, and they did give him more money. So if he was making $30 million playing for the Pistons, the Chicago Bulls organization gave him a whopping $32 million. So basically, you didn't make anything. Okay, it's the same thing that this moron doesn't understand. After taxes, you're pretty much paying the same amount of money, but your stature as a marquee player went down. You didn't do anything in Chicago, and you are like a footnote. Whereas you could have stayed in Detroit, you could have possibly become a contributor off the court, offensive coordinator or team spokesman, anything in the organization. You athletes, you're not paid to think. Come to that realization. You're not paid to think. Honestly, you're not even paid to get an education. You are paid to be a dummy. All you are there for is to play basketball, sell merchandise for the college, hopefully move on. And if you are some sort of an anomaly as a black athlete, you will get an education so you can do something with your life just in case you don't make it to professional sports. The KTM dumb basketball player, dumb athlete fund is still open, so you have plenty of time to send me that 10%, and I can take that 10%, do more with it than you're going to do with the $80 million. No, not the $80 million, with the $53 million. No, not the $53 million, with the $6.8 million. No, not the $6.8 million. We don't know what you're going to get in the future now because you pretty much torched your credibility and your marketability as a basketball player. I did a show, and I think it's still on. I don't think I've taken it off yet. It's about the same thing. NBA basketball player, because of dumb decision making, eventually got bounced from the NBA and wound up working at a McDonald's. So I would say, Mr. Thompson, what you might want to do is get that player's phone number, call that player, ask him if you can use him for reference, because with your decision-making skills, there's a McDonald's somewhere that is going to need, I guess, another NBA player to run the fry station during the lunch shift. This is KTM and the Wake Up Report saying, think a little bit. It will do wonders for you.